So we're currently at 12 o'clock GMT. We are expecting around 30 people to join us. We have to have a minimum of 22 national members here to be quorate. I think some people might think we're going to be starting around 12:30, so I'm going to suggest that we wait to give people a little bit more time to join, so we are at an appropriate number of quorate members. If people in this time would like to switch their camera on and have the opportunity to have some social chat with others around them, then that's very welcome. But we will not be starting the procedure quite yet, and I'll let you know when we are planning to start. So just to reiterate, for those of you who've just joined us, we have to have a minimum of 22 national members to be quorate. 30 national members said that they would be joining this event. I think some people had some confusion around the time that was going to start, but if by 12:30 we don't have a minimum of 22 national members, we aren't going to be able to proceed with the event. So for us to be quorate, we do have to have a minimum of 25% of national members. So we had enough people that said they would be able to join us, so I'm very much hoping we'll be able to go ahead. Secondly, we have the national members who are panelists, and then also we have others who are watching as observers. So we have one nominated person from each association, and also people who are able to then join us as observers, but aren't able to be panelists or indeed vote. I see that Benjamin Gorman has raised a hand. I think it's probably easier, Benjamin, if you could just type a message to me. So as I've said, as we haven't started the event as of yet, you can have your cameras on, and I'm happy for people to use this as an opportunity to chat. But because we are using sign language for the majority of these proceedings, it would be easier if once we start the proceedings, people switch their cameras off so that everybody can focus on the presentation in sign language and then listen to the English interpretation should it be required. So I can see that we've got Wasli India there. I'm just looking at the list of potential participants. So we have Wasli UK. We've got a number of Waslis. Denmark associated. Indonesia. Or Malaysia, sorry, Lucy from Malaysia. Yeah, brilliant. Hello. Finland. Yeah. So if I could ask that people use the naming convention, that they have the name of their association and the country in their name. So for example, the name of the Japanese Interpreter Association and then Japan, or the name ASLI and then UK. As we can see, some people have changed already, just so we know who you are and where you come from. So we've got the national member representatives as panelists, and then other regional reps, RRs, who are also here. And also we have people who are happy to observe, but they aren't in as panelists. Just asking if national members can change their name, so the name of the association followed by the name of the country. If the representative from Nigeria is able to change their name. So it says Nigeria and then the name. So the name of the association, because we have two Nigerian associations who are national members. So if you could highlight which of the organisations you're associating, you're representing, that would be great. Thank you. So just to make those of you who've just arrived aware, in order for us to be quorate, we have to have above 25% of the national members associated and represented at this event. So in order for us to be able to go ahead today, we have to have the national members from a minimum of 22 countries here before we're able to make a start. At the moment, I'll just do a quick head count. So we currently have 14 national members here. Timothy? Sorry, yeah, somebody's just trying to get your attention. So this is the first time that we've done this via Zoom. So obviously it makes things slightly more complicated than normal. So how we've set this event up is we have people here as panelists, and then other people are able to observe. So people who will be communicating in the event, so those who are national members. We have two representatives for national members, but only one of those national members is able to vote. So we have one person that's here as a panelist and the other person that's just here as an observer. Also, we have the regional reps. So as you know, we have a number of regions within ASLI and those representatives are here. And also we welcome general observers who don't fulfill either of those roles. So we're broadcasting this on Facebook and on YouTube. So if people are keen to just sit and, open a pack of popcorn and enjoy this like a Saturday afternoon film, they're very welcome to do so. Yes, so we're just asking people to make sure that all of the names are right. Just doing a quick head count. Timothy, I can see we have a Timothy here. Who are you representing? If you could change your name, so it says your country and the name of your association, please. Timothy? Timothy? Can we ask you to change your name so that it says the name of your country and the name of your association, please? Hello? Hello, Eric. Eric, hiya. Nice to see you. So for those of you who've just joined us, it's just past midday here in sunny London. It's 12:17. And I've explained to those who've joined already that the reason we haven't been able to start as of yet is that we currently have 85 national members of Wasli. And in order for this event to go ahead, we have to be quorate. So for that to happen, we need to have 22 national members present. 30 people said they would be joining us. We currently have 19. We're waiting for another 3. Hopefully, we'll be starting soon. Hello, hello, and welcome. So, as most of you will be aware, this is the first time that Wasli's tried to hold an event of this type virtually. We had our AGM formally in the summer at Jeju. Unfortunately, there were some matters of business that we were unable to attend to because of time constraints. So, we've had to call this formal EGM just to tidy up some matters of business. We have some people who are attending this event as Zoom panelists, and also we have observers to this event because we are hosting it as a Zoom webinar. So for those of you who are on the panel, you're able to switch your camera on to communicate in sign language, and you're also able to type into the chat. Those of you who are here as observers are unable to do that, and that's to make it possible for us to host this event in this way. Our secretary for Wasli, Timothy Tinnat, is here today. And he has shared the information with various national members and others about this event. We were told that 30 organisations had said that they were going to be coming. We currently have 85 voting members of Wasli. 30 members of those members said they would come, and that would have meant that we were quorate because we must have a minimum of 25% of our membership here to vote, so over 22 members. We're just doing a quick head count. Some people are maybe having issues with a link or other things, or are being moved across to be panelists. So once we have 22 members, we will make a start. So I'd imagine we'll be starting around 12:30. So if in this time you'd like to have a chat to each other, please do feel free to do so. And then hopefully at 12:30, we will formally be able to make a start, should we have over 22 members. I think we just might have 22. As soon as we have over that, we will start. So I expect we will be starting in around 5 minutes. Just a couple of minor things, and then we will be making a start very, very shortly. Hello, hello, hello. So some of you will be pleased, some of you less pleased to hear that I have the power so I can spotlight myself. Some people are telling me that they haven't received the link for this event. That's fine. If you are here now as a participant, we can move you across so you're a panelist. So what I'm going to ask is that you can say who you're representing, so which national organisation you're representing, because obviously we don't know who you are or who you're representing. So if you could change your name and say, this is my official email for voting as well, you'll need to share that with us. If we don't have the organisation that you represent and also the email for the voting, you won't be able to be here as a voting member. As I mentioned earlier, we have 85 members. 30 of those members said that they would be attending, but we did email all of the invites to the official email address. So I appreciate this is a little bit frustrating, but of course we want to try to get the process correct and have the right representative from that organisation in attendance. So we had to use the official email for voting. Other people are able to join as an attendee. They can watch the event, but they're not able to vote. This is the first time we've piloted an event like this online. So of course, there are some minor things that we need to work with. And there are some people who are trying to be panelists. But if you want to do that, if you can contact our new secretary, Timothy Tinnat, I'll put the email into the chat. If you can drop him an email, you can make sure then that he can send you the information to join as a panelist. Thank you for bearing with us. So we now are quorate. We must have a minimum of 22 members represented. I can see Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, I think, Ecuador, Peru, India, the UK, Nigeria, Venezuela, Colombia, Denmark, Guatemala, Japan, 13, Malaysia 14, Korea 15, Finland 16, Lithuania 17, Mongolia 18, the Second Malaysian Association 19, Nepal 20, Netherlands, America, that's 23, that's a good sign. Italy 24, Hong Kong 25. Yeah, okay. So we are quorate. So I think we currently have 25 national members represented. So we are able to start with the proceedings. So that's a very good start. I know. Thank you so much for the patience of those of you who've waited for us to get to this point. I really appreciate it. So if we can share slides, please. Thank you. Okay. So firstly, hello. This is the very first time that Wasli has hosted an event like this on Zoom. So of course there are some technical things that we need to work through. We have people who are here as panelists and people who are here as observers. So the people who are here as observers are regional representatives. They could be other people who have an interest in Wasli, but those people are unable to switch on their video and they are unable to use the chat function as well because we're doing this as a webinar. Those of us who are panelists are those representing the national members and the board. Wasli has 85 national members currently. So this is the sign that we use for national members. It's based on the English NM, national members. So in order for this event to be quorate, we have to have over 25% of those national members in attendance. We have reached that benchmark, so we are able to proceed. I'm going to ask that everybody switches off their camera so that people can focus on whoever is producing information in sign language. If later people want to raise a hand to make a question or a comment, then we can do that. People can switch their cameras on and off accordingly to enable that to happen. But we will, of course, need to make sure that communication is well thought through because we are communicating in sign language and in English. I will be presenting information in international sign. Also, we have interpreters working in spoken English. Next slide, please.
Good morning.
So here's the agenda for today's meeting and the points that we'll be working through. And also we will be introducing the new board. We'll be explaining how the voting system is going to work. And then hopefully everybody's going to be paying attention because we will be doing some mock voting just to see if we are able to then proceed to the actual business of today's meeting. So as those of you who were with us in July will recall, this is just a follow-up meeting from the actual face-to-face AGM that we had in Jeju in July. Unfortunately, we were unable to attend to all of the business that we had then, so we've had to add this additional EGM to be able to do the rest of that business. This isn't an opportunity for us to discuss any new business. It would be not practical for us to do that today, but there will be another AGM next year where we are able to attend to any new business. So firstly, we need to do a roll call. Argentina. Are Argentina represented here? Yeah, brilliant. Hello. Great to see you, Argentina. Bolivia? We have Bolivia? Hello, Bolivia. Next, we have Malta. Malta? Hello. Ancitilis? Chile, is that right? Are you Chile? Chile, yeah. Hello, Chile, yeah. Brilliant, thank you. Sorry, you'll have to forgive my memory. Ancitilis? Oh, brilliant, thank you. Thank you. Apologies, Costa Rica. My memory's not what it once was. Ecuador? Hello, Ecuador. Lovely to see you. Anisil Par? I can't remember. Paraguay? Oh, Panama. Sorry, thank you. Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much. Peru? Hello? We have Asispep from Peru. Asli, India? Hello? Welcome. Asli, UK? Hello? Aslin, Nigeria?
Hello, hello.
Hello. Then we have Venezuela as well. Next, we have the Colombian Association. Our representatives from Colombia. Hello. Hello. And we also have colleagues joining us from Denmark. Wonderful. Hello. We have the representative from Guatemala as well, Antigua. Wonderful. Hello, hello. Japan we have out here as well, I believe. Wonderful. Hello, welcome. We have Jupin from Malaysia. Lovely to see you, Lucy. Kasli, Korea. Language experts of Finland. Hello. Welcome. Stay cold. Lasli, the Lithuanian Association. Lithuania? Do we have a representative here from Lithuania? We do have somebody. Okay, they're struggling to get in. Thank you.
Yes, they were driving.
Masli, the Mongolian Association. Hello. Mayasli, Malaysia. Hello. We also have Nasli, the Nepalese Association. Hello, welcome. And NBTG, the Netherlands Association. Hello. NR Asli, is that's also Japan, I believe. Wonderful, thank you. Paraguay, Anelspa. We have our rep from Paraguay here, I believe. Hello. Can anybody from Paraguay just switch their camera on just to say hi for a second? Then we have Chile. Wonderful, thank you. And then we have Tamilis from Italy. Wonderful, thank you, represented here today. And we also have a representative from Hong Kong. Wonderful. And also somebody from RID in America. Hello, welcome. Great. So if I can ask that everybody now switches their camera off. Also, we have a representative from the Philippines as well. Welcome, thank you for joining us. So if everybody could please switch their cameras off. So Panama, Peru, Casli, if everybody could please switch their cameras off. Korea, if everybody could please switch their cameras off, that would be great. Costa Rica, brilliant, thank you. Where's Timothy? Timothy, if you could switch your camera on, please. Perfect, next slide, please, thank you. Okay, so that was the roll call, and this is the welcome speech. Hello and welcome. This is the first time Wasli has tried to do an event of this kind online. We had our General Assembly in July in Jeju, and there was some business that we were unable to attend to at that event, unfortunately, because of time constraints. So we've had to move this business today into an extraordinary general meeting. However, the board that we had in July and the board that we have now is a different board, because we had to say goodbye to some of our esteemed colleagues and welcome some wonderful additions to the board. So some of you will know me. I was the previous president. My name's Christopher Stone. I'm based in the UK. I was the president for the previous term too. I'll now allow our vice president to introduce herself. Lydia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Lydia and I'm from Korea. I am the Vice President for Wasli and I'm really happy to see everyone here.
Thank you so much, Lydia. And now if I can ask our Secretary, Timothy, to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. It's really lovely to see you all here. My name is Timothy and I am the Secretariat for Wasli.
Wonderful. Where are you based, Timothy?
I'm based in Nigeria.
Nigeria, wonderful. Thank you so much. And Lydia, did you say where you're based? Lydia, did you say where you're based?
Oh, yes, I'm from Korea. Yes, I did sign that.
Oh, sorry, I must have missed that. Apologies. And now the important person in Wasli, the treasurer, of course, a very critical role to the organisation. Yovana, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Yovana. And this is my sign name. Hi, everyone.
And where are you based, Yovana? Colombia. Wow, brilliant. Fantastic. And next, if I can ask our deaf interpreter representative, who's been with us from the previous term as well, to introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Arunas, and I'm here on the Wasli board to represent the deaf interpreters. This is my second term on the board, and I served the last term and then this term. And I am I'm the regional representative as well for my area, and I live in Lithuania. So I'm really happy to be here. Thank you very, very much that I can be part of it. I'm looking forward to creating great relationships. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harunas. And also somebody that we've managed to keep into this next term as well. the wonderful Michelle, who is our Swiss resident. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Michelle and I live in Switzerland. I'm part of the board as a Swiss representative. And I'm looking forward to working with the board in the next term. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So now, if I could ask that the board also switch off their camera, so I'm the only person that everybody's able to see for this next part of the business. Arunas, is it possible for you to switch your camera off, please? Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, this is a follow-on from the event that we had in July where we weren't able to attend to all of the business. So we agreed at that event that we would carry over some of the business to be held in an EGM. So we need to vote on some things. Hopefully we'll be able to move relatively quickly through today's business. We've had some discussions around how we can best operate a voting procedure online with the board and also our technical expertise. We've decided that we will be using a Google form. And that's the method by which we will be voting today. So we have to use your official email addresses for that. So you've given us your official email addresses, and that is the email address that will be used. If you use a different email address in that form, then we won't be able to accept the vote. Obviously, for legitimacy purposes, we have to check that we have appropriate representation here today. So we can see the people who are here on the panel today and those representing national members. Thank you so much for joining us. The people who are watching as panelists won't be able to switch their cameras on, they won't be able to chat, and they also won't be able to vote. So we, as national members, representatives of those membership organisations and the board will be able to have discussions and make questions and comments around the motions. Next slide, please. So we want to make sure that everybody's entirely clear about how the voting procedure is going to work. And also we want you to have an understanding of how the voting system works before we have to do it in actuality. So we will present the motion. There'll be an opportunity for questions and discussion. If there is no question or discussion to that particular motion, we will move to vote. And then the people who are panelists will have a link in the chat that they can then use to make their vote. And at that point, people will be able to vote for or against or abstain. So we will have time for voting and for discussion, and then the votes will actually take place, and then we will move to the next motion. So what we'd like to do is a pilot for the voting, just to see that it works well for everybody. So you can either use the QR code that's on the screen next to me or the link for the Google form. So if I could ask that people do a pilot vote now, just to see that it's working for everybody. You can also go to the wasli.org EM for the links there as well. So if you want to look at the various motions, they are available on our website. So in the form, you will need to use your name, the acronym for your National Member Association, you know, ASLIN or RID or whatever it is, and then hopefully be able to vote. Next slide, please. So we're going to have 2 minutes for people to try voting. A link has been shared in the chat. . Okay, so we have one message in the chat that's saying they are unable to access this because of a password issue. It keeps coming back to the password page. Okay. Okay, so we have 26. Sorry, you'll have to forgive my old eyes. Thank you, that's much bigger. Much appreciated. 26, perfect. 30 members and 27 votes. So 3 votes haven't been registered. We are aware that one, our representative from the Netherlands, is saying they're experiencing some issues in accessing the vote. So it might be that the QR code isn't working. Maybe you could try clicking the link. For whatever reason that is, maybe in the link in the chat works. $30. Wonderful. So it seems that everybody has the ability to vote using this system. What a great start. So we also have a second trial. So we're going to try for 2 minutes again. And then we're going to be able to proceed with the day's motions. So we're going to do the second test now. And there will again be a 2-minute window for that to happen. And if we could bring the votes up again, please. So again, we've got 26 votes out of what should be 33 voters. So that's 7 people that haven't registered a vote. If anybody hasn't voted yet, could they please vote? If you've just joined as a panelist, because you are a national member, you will be able to see a link in the chat box. If you can click on that link and register a vote, that would be great. If you click on the link, it will take you to this page where you can vote. I see we have 28 votes, 28 from a possible 33. So that's 5 members who haven't been able to register a vote as of yet. If there are problems with the panelists, if they could please type into the chat to make us aware of what the problems are, that would be really useful. Can we pull the voting slide up again, please? So again, that's just 29 votes. So that's 4 members who haven't voted as of yet. I just want to ensure that everybody can vote before we move to the actual business. So we have 30 votes, 3 people who haven't yet voted. Three people who haven't voted yet. So our technical advisor has suggested that it might be an issue with the Wi-Fi streaming, resulting in some kind of time delay. So if we look at the emails, we can actually see which national members are there. Yeah. 33, full house. Wonderful. Okay, we can pull that slide off now, please, and return to the business of the rest of today. So if you want to access the forms now for voting, you can either use the QR code for the top one. So you can use the link that's there or the QR code, or if you go to the second link on the bottom, there's the Wasli web page. So you can use the link or the QR code for that as well. And if you want to do it that way, the password is there. So national members are able to vote, but other people who are in attendance today are not able to vote. Next slide, please. Okay, so I think we are now ready to make a start and to do the business of today's meeting. So as previously mentioned, we didn't have time to conclude everything in July, so we're finishing up that business today. There are some motions that are put forward by the Executive Board, and some of the some of the constitution we have for Wasli isn't compliant in Swiss law, and obviously we are now seated in Switzerland, so it's important that we are fully compliant in that jurisdiction. So there are some changes that need to be made to our constitution and our articles to ensure that we are compliant where we are seated legally. So for these to pass, we have to have 2/3 of national members voting in support of them. So according to our constitution, we have to have a minimum of 2/3 of votes in support for these to pass. So if, for example, we have 21 in support and 12 not in support, the motion will fail. I hope that's clear for everybody. So lots of these are quite minor changes, so matters either for clarification or matters to be compliant within the Swiss jurisdiction. So we would hope that people will be in support of those. Later, we have some that are around clarification, and we hope that we will be able to ensure that the smooth running of Wasli can continue by the voting for of those motions. And some of them are quite straightforward, and we would like to work through the ones that are quite straightforward quite quickly. And then the ones that are more complex and meaty, we can have further discussion around. So I would ask that before you decide to make a comment or a question, you think, is this really relevant to the running of today's meeting? Or should I save the space and the time that we have available to us today to ask questions around the motions that might be more contentious? Next slide, please. Okay, so if I first talk us through this first motion. So Wasli has articles around the purpose of the association. So one of the things within this, so for example, our purpose is to support national associations to establish their work. We support research. We support lots of things, but we don't coordinate and provide sign language interpreting services. So we know that often some national associations also run agencies for sign languages, but we don't do that as Wasli. So this is actually in our articles as a purpose of Wasli, and it's not accurate with regards to the work we do. So we think it would be for the best that we removed this as a purpose. Are there any comments or questions around the decision to do this? We think it's quite straightforward as a board because it just moves into line with what we actually do. Okay, I see no hands raised, in which case I suggest we proceed to a vote. If people are ready to vote, we've practiced already, so now the time is going to start and we will have 2 minutes for national members to vote with regards to motion 1. Okay, and if we can now look to the votes. Okay, so the first vote has passed. And I can see that we have a question from the LAC region.
Good morning. Want to make sure everybody can hear me. Yes. My name is Sergio Zurita. I'm from Anilsec, Ecuador, but I will be the person that I've been in charge of presenting the questions that we have from our region, since most of them they do not speak English. Our question from the region, we have a WhatsApp group right now, we're all connected, is how is this going to affect the national members? Because we're deleting this section of the article where Wasli, it says that Wasli is not providing interpreting services. That is just for Wasli. That does not affect the national members. That's like national members, they have their own structure. That's our question.
So this is just for Wasli. This is only around what Wasli will do. National members can continue to do whatever they want. And it's none of our business how you choose to structure yourselves. Wasli just won't be providing interpreting services. We don't and will not be continuing to do that. However, we are aware that other national members do, and they can make decisions around how best to structure that in their own situations that they work within. So we support interpreters, we support research, but we don't support the provision of interpreters. But if national members should choose to do that as part of the work of their association, then that's absolutely something they are entitled to do, but it's just not something that we do. So thank you so much for that clarification. Wonderful, thank you so much. Great, so that's motion 1 passed. Thank you, that was a useful question for clarification. If we can move now to the second motion for today's business. So previously, when Wasli was established, our members, our membership had different categories. And we used the use of the word region. However, what we've realised is actually the word region can be misconstrued. So it could be either a country or it could be a larger region of the world, a continent even. So the aim of this is to provide clarification around what this means. So it might be that it's Africa, so the African Association, so the forum, and they could join as a member, or it might be EFSLI, or the Arabic multinational organization. So this is for larger bodies and for their ability to join. So they're not a voting member, but they can vote, they can join us to be able to share ideas and support. So our proposal is that we change the wording. So rather than saying region, it changes to multinational associations. And we think that's clearer in terms of what we actually do. So again, it's just a clarification, but not a change of our practice. Are there any questions or comments around that? I see that no hands are raised and there's nothing in the chat. And if so, then I will so there's one question that says, please clarify multinational. Multinational means not one country, but a number of countries that work together. So for example, EFSLI, the European Forum of Sign Language Interpreters in Europe, which represents organisations throughout Europe and has 30 plus European countries as members of that. So if they want to support Wasli, they can, and they can pay a fee to be part of the support of Wasli, but they're not a voting member. And in Africa, there's AFSLI, which is the African Federation, and there's 54 members of that. So there's many, many nations who form part of that. So multinational means more than one country. So for example, if we had, the UK or Chile, Panama, sorry, just reading the question here. So EFSLI is a member. So as there says, EFSLI can join WASLI as a member. So EFSLI is a member of WASLI. So we have different categories. So we used to say regions. So we used to say that these are regional members, but we feel the word region is unclear. So we want to change the word to multinational. So again, it's just a matter of clarification. So it's any organisation that's bigger than one country. They can join as a member. If in future that feels to be unclear, for example, maybe there are French-speaking countries in North America or in Africa or in Europe who wanted to join as a French-speaking consortium of interpreter organisations, they would be able to do so. Hopefully that provides the clarification that's needed. Ecuador, I can see that you've got your camera on.
I have a situation here, so I'm trying to, sorry. Yeah. What I'm doing right now, as you can see, I'm trying to explain my colleagues in our group what you just said, Christopher. I'm trying to explain the definition of multinational. So I'm working with them and they're getting the message. Yeah, so I just explained what you say. I'm waiting for them to see what they reply.
Okay. So if I can just make people aware that we have 2 hours left for this business. We will be finishing at 3:30 UK time. The papers were circulated prior to this event in July, and there has been a lot of time for questions. This is just a simple matter of clarification. It's not changing who will be able to join WASLI. It's a very minor matter. Are we still waiting, or can we move to a vote? We can't hear you if you're speaking. You'll need to switch your microphone up. Sorry, that's to the representative from Ecuador.
Sorry, I have two. They're asking me what is the difference between national member and multinational member.
So we also have a question for our representative in Ghana. So this isn't a change to the way that WASLI will operate, it's just a change to the wording that we use in our articles. So for example, maybe there are some organisations who are closely located geographically, so that wanted to form maybe 4, 5, 6 countries that wanted to have a sort of a regional organisation that wanted to support the work of WASLI, but they wouldn't be able to vote. So organisations like EFSLI, who are members, can't vote and can't change the business of WASLI, but they can support the organisation. So we've always had that. So one country member, so a national member can join and they can vote. Individual interpreters can join WASLI. They can't vote, but they can support the organisation. So there's different ways that you can be a member of WASLI. This isn't a change to our organisational membership. This is just literally a change to the word. It's a semantic change to make it clearer. So in 2023, we have 2 regional members and then multi-country members. No, we have 3 actually. So one is Europe and one's the Arab multinational organisation. So this is just to clarify. We felt the word regional wasn't clear, so we're changing the word to multinational, but it's not a change to how we'll do business or a change to the membership policy. Yes, so the Asia Pacific Sign Language Interpreters Association could be established. Yes, but that's not new. So this isn't new. This isn't a change. This is just a change to the wording that we use to describe that category of membership. That's all. It will still be the same as it has ever been. It's just a change to the wording. I hope that's clearer. Okay. Brilliant. So if we can now proceed to a vote, we can bring the slide up for that, please. Okay, so it looks like we're ready to proceed to a vote. Okay, if we can bring up the voting results, please. They could just be slightly larger, please. Could they be slightly larger, please? Could the results be larger? So it looks like 39 people have voted, but we have 33 voting members. So some people shouldn't have voted. So remember, national members only get one vote. We have 33 national members in attendance. It looks like things have passed. We will go through the emails to check. If national members have voted twice, we will reduce those secondary votes. But for now, I'll ask Timothy to have a look through those and see if he feels there are additional things that have been duplicated. We will look at those numbers and share that, but it looks like on the surface that it's passed, so we'll carry on moving forward. But if we can try to aim for 33 votes, if we have above 33 votes, then we're going to have to review everything. If we can look at the next motion, please. So this is just a similar change to make our constitution clearer. So in terms of the procedure, what happens when we have a new organisation that wants to become a national member of Wasli? They submit an application to the Wasli board. The board will consider that application. So they will check that they are an interpreter association and they work in line with the aims and objectives of Wasli. And then what we do as a board, we then propose to the next General Assembly for the members of Wasli to vote. So the final say of the new members comes from the General Assembly. The board cannot accept new members without a vote from the General Assembly. So you, as our national members, will decide whether that association is allowed to become a member or not. The board doesn't have that vote. So again, this is just for clarification and just to make sure that we are fully compliant in Swiss law. So we have to pass this because the power isn't from the board, the power is from the national members. But to be compliant in Swiss law, we have to make this change. Otherwise, we're not compliant where we have our legal seat. Are there any questions or comments on this motion? I'm not seeing any questions or comments. In which case, can we move forward to a vote? One national member vote, please. So just one person from each national membership organisation to make a vote, please. We don't want to duplicate any of those votes. So now we will move to the link for that vote. So I'm told that all 33 members have voted, so it seems churlish to wait for the rest of the time to be used up. Thank you. I really appreciate your support with this. It's great to see that we have the full approval of all voting members, so we are now compliant in Swiss law. Great news. If we can move to the next motion, please. So this is a similar principle. It's just, again, a matter of clarification in our articles. So if a national member doesn't pay their membership fees, this just means that we have the opportunity to remove them as a national member. But again, it's around who has the power to remove that organisation. It's currently not clear in our articles. So if we have a member that hasn't paid for the year, what the board will do is the board will ask a national association if there are years where this member hasn't paid. We will ask the General Assembly to vote around the member being no longer considered a national member. So again, it's just to clarify where the power lies. So it's not a board decision, it's a decision for the national members, and the national members would vote on that. You, as the national members, have the power to make the decision, not the board. And we have to change this so it's compliant within Swiss law. Again, we would ask you to support this motion because we do need to be compliant within Swiss law. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, it seems there aren't any questions or comments. And if so, I think we need to move towards a vote. Wonderful, thank you. Okay, if we can see the results of the vote, please. So that vote has passed. So as of next year, if there's non-payment issues, it will be brought to the General Assembly. Next motion, please. So the aim of this again is for clarification and to clarify how Wasli conducts its business. So we have the General Assembly, and that's the national members that have the power to make decisions within the organisation. But also we have the board, the president, the vice president, the secretary, the treasurer, the deaf interpreters liaison, and we have the Swiss representative. So we have the board that ensures the smooth running of Wasli. But also there's quite a lot of other work that happens by our regional representatives. And we know that we now have a deaf and hearing regional representative that work together locally within their regions. And we feel at the moment that's not really represented well within our articles. So we want to clarify who does the running of Wasli, so who functions, the office functions, who makes sure that the overall work of Wasli is done, engaging with other NGOs, etc., and who does the work regionally. So we just feel this clarification is a little bit better, just to make sure people know what the bodies of the association are in a clearer way. Are there any questions on this one? No? And if not, we will then move to the voting. If we can put the link into the chat for the voting, please. Just to add that some clarification. Perfect results. Thank you very much. So again, that has indeed passed. Appreciate your support in this. And if we can move to the next motion, please. So within the board that we've had some discussions around this, and we know that now Wasli is legally based in Switzerland, so we have to be compliant within Swiss law. So we have to have a Swiss person in the board to enable us to do that. So we currently have the wonderful Michelle Berger as our Swiss representative. So we have the president, the vice president, the secretary, the treasurer, the deaf interpreter advisor, and we have our Swiss resident. However, in future, it may be that the Swiss resident could be somebody that was the treasurer or the vice president or the president or the secretary. So in the instance that we had somebody that was a Swiss resident in one of those roles, we would no longer require a separate board member who was a Swiss resident. So again, it's just a matter of clarification. Are there any questions around this? I see no questions. In which case, I think we can proceed with a vote on motion 6. I can see that everybody has voted. No, a couple more. If we can see the voting results, please. So we have some abstentions, but largely people were in support. So again, this motion passes. And if we move on to the next motion. So previously, with motion 5, so that was the one around regional representatives. We said that there was the board. So we have the president, the vice president, and the regional representatives. So again, this is around clarifying the structure of Wasli. So the board is composed of the executive board and the regional representatives. So again, it's just a matter of clarification. So we have the president, the vice president, etc., and then the regional representatives who form part of the wider board. So are there any clarifications around that? I see none. Again, this is, I think, largely straightforward and a matter of clarification. If there are no questions, can we proceed to a vote? Can we share the link to that vote, please? Okay, if we can see the voting results, please. Fantastic, a full show of support for that. That's really wonderful, thank you. If we can move to the next motion, please. So again, as we were looking through our articles, we noted that the regional reps, the RRs, it says that there is a period with which they work. So it says that the board work 4 years, but this isn't necessarily represented for the regional reps in our articles. So we wanted to add that there's a 4-year period within which they work. So the same as the board, the president, the vice president, we are elected for a 4-year term. And this is also the same for the regional representatives. So we just wanted to add this in as a matter of clarification. And it really is as simple as that. We just want to make it clearer for those reading our articles about who does what and how long they do it for. If there are any questions or comments or ideas for discussion around this, I'd welcome them now. And if not, I think we should proceed to a vote. Okay, we're just waiting for a couple more votes to come in. Okay. So if we can see the voting results for that motion, please. Again, I can see that that's passed quite clearly. We have 1 member against and 1 abstention. Wonderful, thank you so much. If we can move to the next motion, please, motion number 9. So this is something that myself and Michelle were looking through to ensure that we were compliant within Swiss law, and we spotted this that we haven't quite understood. So we are asking if we can just delete this, because to us it doesn't really make any sense and we're not sure what the purpose of it being there is. It certainly doesn't add any substance or clarification. So the work done by the executive board isn't paid work, but Wasli, if it has the funds available, will cover expenses for travel and maybe accommodation, but it certainly won't be a paid piece of work for the executive board. So it would be something that maybe if somebody went above and beyond to do a specific piece of work, there might be some small compensation, but it's just more kind of to make this clear. So it says here, pension attendance fees cannot exceed those paid for official commissions, but doesn't make any sense to us. Neither of us really understood what that meant. So we don't know why this was in place in the first instance. So we're just asking that it can be deleted because we don't think it necessarily adds anything to this. We didn't realise it was there. It's certainly not adding any clarification to us. Are there any questions or comments around this particular motion? Okay, we have a question from Zambia. The hand's been raised by our Zambian representative.
Hello everyone. Sorry I cannot be on picture. I hope everyone is able to hear me. I'm sorry I cannot be on picture. I hope everyone is able to hear me.
Yeah, please do proceed. Yeah. Obid, we can't seem to hear you. I'm just wondering if you're having a problem with the sound, and if so, maybe you could type your message into the chat box. Okay, well, you could always.
Okay, I'm sorry
Yeah,
about that.
start video, brilliant.
I temporarily lost the internet. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. And we have an interpreter on screen. Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the wording in the proposed phrase that is proposed to be removed, I wanted to understand what it means. Potential attendance cost, something like that. I cannot see the screen shared, so I've forgotten the exact wording. I cannot see it on the screen. The wording that we're proposing to remove, what exactly does it mean? I don't know if my question is clear.
Okay. So the English wording says potential attendance fees cannot exceed the official commission fees. However, me and Michelle reading this couldn't seem to make any sense of it. Didn't feel that it had any understanding for us. We don't feel as a sentence that it makes any sense or has any particular purpose. So for me, we don't have official commissions as part of Wasli. So our fee are all fees, so it wouldn't exceed those. Maybe in future, if, for example, as the president, we had some funding to do a project, and in that project, we were doing work that was not in keeping with my role as the president, but some other work. It might be that there were some fees for that work for that time in the project. But if we were giving some advice, and that was part of my role as president, that would not be a paid piece of work. So I think it was probably aimed to provide some clarification about pay, but we don't have any project work at the moment. If we did in future have funding for a project, then the Wasli board would have to have some guidelines around that. If we wanted to work somebody to work in a project, we would use somebody else, probably from that, advertise it externally. We wouldn't expect that a board member did that work, so it would be completely separately remunerated. So it might be that the president's role wouldn't be appropriate in that, because it wouldn't be a neutral role, and that might be the same for the other board members as well. So as the board, we shouldn't be profiting financially from our association with Wasli. Maybe in future we had more money available to Wasli, we might be able to bring somebody in to do some work. Maybe we would have some kind of executive director to do the work, and that would be a paid role. That wouldn't be the role of the president, and the president wouldn't be paid for that. So the president's role is to support the organisation. So again, we just feel this sentence doesn't make any sense, and that's why we want to remove it. So we want to take the sentence out because we don't feel it makes any sense or adds any clarification to the work that we do. Is that clear? Could we put the motion back up, please? Motion 9 again, please. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or comments on this one? I don't see any hands raised. And in that case, I think we should proceed to a vote. Okay. If we can see the results of that vote, please. Wonderful. Everybody's in support of it. That's a great relief. Thank you. So that was motion 9. I wanted to see if people are okay to continue, or whether people are having problems with the voting. Is everybody happy with how things are going? Are there any issues so far with the voting procedure? If everybody's okay, if they could put in the chat that things are okay and we're happy to continue. Or you could put C or we or yes, or whichever language best suits you. Somebody's asked if I'm okay. I would just like to reassure you all that I am indeed okay. I might need some more water at some point, but I am otherwise okay. Brilliant. Okay. It seems that people are happy with how things are proceeding thus far. If at any point there are some problems, please do make me aware of that. We can always take a couple of minutes to iron out any problems that we're having. But if not, I think we should probably proceed to the next motion, which is motion 10. So currently, the Wasli articles say that we can have face-to-face meetings organised quite last minute. So it might be that we need a meeting to have a general assembly or to discuss certain business. We know that Wasli now, being the international body that it is, has grown significantly over the years. We have 85 national members, so a very substantial membership. So we have the 85 national members and other members too. So if we want to have an event and provide opportunity for those national members to be able to attend, we need to give more notice than 6 weeks, as previously stated in our articles. So if there was some kind of meeting or face-to-face event, for example, the EGM, we would expect to tell people 3 months in advance. Currently, our articles say that it can be organised 6 weeks in advance, and we think that's simply not enough. So we want to change our articles to say that any face-to-face events have to be announced with a minimum of 3 months' notice. Are there any questions around that? I don't see any hands raised or any questions, so no comments or questions, it seems. And if not, we can proceed to the vote. We can pop the link for the vote into the chat. Thank you very much. I will just go and refresh my glass as previously mentioned. Okay, it seems that all votes have indeed been counted. If we can see the results, please. Wonderful, that's passed. Thank you so much. We can move to the next motion, please. So this motion is around the meetings that we have. So currently it says we can use telephone or video conference, but we would just like to change the wording to virtual meetings rather than face-to-face meetings. So it might be that we have some meetings like this, for example, the AGM or the EGM, that are large-scale organisations, but also as an executive board, we have regular monthly meetings. And of course, it would be impossible for us to fly into the same place to have those meetings. So we just want to make sure this is clear in our articles. And also as a result of COVID, we found that there should be, it says that there should be, every year there should be one General Assembly now, because we've changed our articles. But if you think about the funding for that, it might be that the board needs to consider whether it's appropriate to have face-to-face meetings or virtual meetings. So for example, when we have our Congress, if we have it in Africa or in Asia, we use that opportunity at the same time to have a general meeting. In a year that maybe we don't have a Congress or a conference, these meetings could happen online instead of being face-to-face. And this change just really allows us to be able to have the flexibility to do either face-to-face meetings or virtual meetings. Think about climate change, global warming. We can't, with a good conscience, be happy to fly all over the world every year for these meetings. So it's a question that we would change these so that the executive board is able to meet virtually and to encourage to make full technology. Sorry, I think I've really laboured that point too much. But yes, it's just to change so that the articles reflect the virtual nature of a lot of our meetings. Any questions or comments? I don't see any hands raised or any comments in the chat. And if not, I think we should proceed to a vote. Okay, I think everybody's voted, in which case can we move to the results? Can we see the results, please? Wonderful, thank you so much. We can move to the next motion, please. So previously, we had a paid employee, because if we don't have a Swiss person in the board, we would need to have that person. So now we have the Swiss resident in the board, but previously we had to have a paid employee. We don't currently have that. At the moment, it might be that Wasli changes this. It might be that we have more funds coming into us as an organisation. And what that means is we can contract somebody to do some work for the organisation. But we currently don't have any staff. But we would potentially, if we needed to make change around that in the future, and we had some sort of paid employee who was also a Swiss resident, so we could pay them a stipend, but we don't have that at the moment. That's not something we're looking to change in the future. So again, this is just redundant information in the articles that we're looking to remove. But this said that if we had a paid employee, they wouldn't have voting rights. We don't have one. They still don't have voting rights. We don't need one. We're not looking to get one. So can we delete it, please? That's the question from the board about how we can just work more smoothly moving forward. At the moment, we would only subcontract people for small tasks of work, but they wouldn't necessarily be Swiss employees. And if we did, they'd be short-term pieces of work. Are there any questions or comments around that particular motion? No, and if not, then I think we should move to a vote. Okay, I think we've completed the voting for that. Can we see the results, please? Wonderful, thank you so much. And if we can move on now to the next motion, which is motion number 13. So this is around our general assemblies. So currently our articles say that we hold a general assembly every 4 years. However, having some advice from Switzerland, they have informed us that actually that's not appropriate within their legislation. We should be having a general assembly every 4 years. Every year rather than every 4 years. So we aren't compliant with Swiss law at the moment because we only have a general assembly every 4 years, and we need to change that to having annual general assemblies. And this is for many reasons. So, for example, a general assembly is an opportunity for the membership to be able to see the financial position of Wasli, to agree they're happy that the work that's happened for the previous year and what's going to happen in the following year, so that members are really kept abreast of the work of the board and the other parts of the organisation. Also, it's an opportunity for us to grow the membership by having new national members. As I mentioned earlier, national members have to be approved by a general assembly. And if we only have that every 4 years, it means it's more difficult for national organisations to become national members. So you can see the change that we're proposing here on the slide. So we're proposing that we will have a face-to-face gathering every 4 years, as we have done previously. So similar to the conference that we had in Jeju. If people are unable to attend that in person, they will be able to engage with the event online, the same as we have done in previous years. However, secondly, we are suggesting that over the 4-year period, we have an event like this EGM that happens online whenever necessary. So we'll have the face-to-face gathering every 4 years, but other events can happen virtually. Also, extraordinary assemblies can either be in person or online. Hopefully that's clear enough. Are there any questions or comments on that motion? So the idea is that we will have an AGM, so an annual general meeting, and we will do that, the face-to-face meeting prior to the Wasli conference, as we've previously done. So we'll have that face-to-face meeting every 4 years. And this year we had our meeting in 2023 in person. So we will have next year's General Assembly remotely, virtually, using a platform like this. Then 2025, we will also have that virtually. 2026 will also be a virtual General Assembly. And then in 2027, we will have our face-to-face General Assembly, as we have done previously. And at that point, we will, in those meetings, be able to show the financial position of ASLI, the work that's happened in that year, and so on and so forth, so that our membership is able to approve that work and enable it to continue. So previously, the WFD used to have a 4-year General Assembly and nothing in between, but because we are based in Switzerland, we are going to have to change our model. So we're compliant in Swiss law so that we have an annual General Assembly. Sorry, again, I feel like I've really taken my time explaining that one, and I apologise. Are there any questions or comments that people would like to make at this point? So because you're not a national member, you can't ask a question or comment unless it's something for clarification, Timothy.
My question is around
Okay.
clarity, please. It's about the conference.
The virtual conference, okay.
Yes. The virtual part of it. And will the word virtual not be conflicting with anything else? But I haven't noticed anything, so no, it's fine.
I think that, yeah, that's a good point. Thanks, Tim. Any other thoughts, questions, matters for clarification? So the second line you can see here, the General Assembly will have to happen every year, and every 4 years it will be a physical gathering. In interim years, this may be a virtual meeting. But those face-to-face physical gatherings can also be attended by people virtually. So if there aren't any further comments or questions, I'm going to suggest we move towards a vote. Okay, I think we've had the votes. If we can see the results, please. Wonderful, thank you all so much. If we can move on to the next motion, please, motion number 14. So motion 14 is a two-parter. So we have 14 and 14.1. So two things that require you to vote. The first is a change in Article 10. So we have the various articles for the running of Wasli. And this refers to Article 10. And again, we just want some clarification. So some people were concerned about the clarification around who is allowed to support, who is allowed to vote, sorry. So we have supporters, we have multinational organisations that are members, and they are not allowed to vote in the General Assembly meetings. They just have the opportunity to engage in the organisation and support the work of the organisation. But the people that are allowed to vote in our General Assemblies are only, and have always been, just the national members. So this really is about clarification of that, just to make it very, very clear that only national members get a vote in our General Assembly meetings. Are there any questions or comments around this? I don't see any hands raised, and therefore I'm going to ask that we move towards a vote. I see the voting's finished. Can we see the results, please? Wonderful, thank you very much. And if we moved on to the next motion. So again, it's just to add clarification. So we just wanted to be clear about who gets to vote. And at the moment, it just says members vote. We wanted to say national members, just so it's very clear in both parts of this article that when we're talking about members voting, we're talking about national members. I don't think it requires any further discussion or clarification from me. I think it's quite straightforward, but if you have any questions, please do make me aware now. I see no hands raised or anything in the chat, and if not, I think we should proceed to a vote. You pop the link for that vote into the chat, please. Wonderful, thank you so much. Right, okay. I think we've had all the votes for this motion now. Can we see the results, please? Thank you. Okay, and if we can see the next motion, please. And this again links to the notice with which we can call a meeting. So as mentioned earlier, we want to give more time to members for that. If there's going to be a face-to-face gathering, such as an EGM or a conference, we want to make sure there's sufficient notice of that. So previously, our articles said, or they currently say, that there should be 6 weeks notice and that the business should be sent 10 days in advance. However, we don't necessarily feel that's significant, so we feel the notice period should be further in advance, that people have got the opportunity to attend those meetings and not be conflicted with other priorities. Also, we want to make sure that people have a clear understanding of what they're voting for or voting against, and has the time necessary to be able to discuss that business, which is really important. So this is what we're currently proposing as a change. But for the next General Assembly, we give 6 months notice of the date of the General Assembly. So that means that members have plenty of time to attend. So usually around 35% of our national members are able to attend the General Assembly. We would hope that with advance notice, more people will be able to attend. So with this event today, we had 4 months notice and we have reasonably good membership, but we'd hope that with 6 months, even more people will be able to come. Also, by sending the papers with more notice in advance, explaining the agenda and the matters for discussion, we will give national members more opportunity to discuss the motions, understand which way they might want to vote. So if there are those shared 3 months in advance, then people will have the opportunity to get clarification and discuss with their regions about whether they want to support those particular motions. So by giving those a month in advance, people will be able to do that. So our proposal will be that we share that information 1 month in advance. Previously, they used to be sent 10 days in advance, and the meeting would be called 6 weeks in advance. And now we're proposing that any other business will be sent 3 months prior to the meeting. There'll be a 6-month notice for the General Assembly, and all papers will be sent 1 month in advance of the General Assembly. I think it's reasonably clear. It's just improving our timescales to ensure better understanding and better opportunity for members, I would hope. Are there any questions? Any comments? No, and if not, we can move to a vote. No, okay, I see no questions. So if we could move towards a vote, please. Thank you.
Please, may we see the results? As we discussed and have seen from previous votes, this has gone as we expected. So we have a full support for that vote. So as previously indicated, this is not about the board making executive decisions, but decisions that are now being taken to the General Assembly. And the approval of admissions and exclusion of members specifically, not lying within the board, but within the General Assembly. So there can be support or not, but the General Assembly will be the final decision taking body. The board will, however, still be looking and verifying the information so that when it is submitted at the General Assembly, it can be voted on. Are there any questions or comments regarding this vote or this motion? I think it's same as what we have been doing so far. It's very similar to what we have been voting on. Let's proceed with the voting process. Can we please see the results of the voting process? Great, thank you very much. Can we look at the next motion, please? This motion is also linked to a previous motion where it refers to the Swiss resident. And I think that's also already something specific that we have deleted, some information we've deleted from previous motions. And this is now a case of the board members who will be managing that, and but not necessarily the Swiss resident manager. Are there any comments from the floor? There seems to be no questions or comments. Let's proceed with the voting process. The voting has closed. Can we please see the results? Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's look at the next motion, please. So if you look at what the board's responsibilities are, it says there that we can consult, we can advise about the number of and composition of the regions. The board has no say in who is part of that region or within those groups or the composition of it, because it comes from the communities themselves. I believe that this should be, we feel that this should be deleted. And we can mainly advise on the composition and where it can go, but we cannot supervise. Therefore, it should be a regional matter. People or organizations can decide how they want to compile those organizations that they belong to, and they can become national members based on how they would like to compose those organizations. So that's why we propose that this one be deleted. Are there any comments or questions regarding this point? There seems to be no comments. Let's continue with voting. All votes have been counted, and let's see the results. Let's look at the next motion then. Thank you. Apologies, there seems to be, no, sorry. The motion for number 16 is linked to the Swiss resident manager. And we've suggested that this be removed because it is covered in Article 17 already. So we had in the past already voted that the Swiss resident will be there, but we are going to remove Swiss resident manager in places where it's not needed to have that repeated. When we make use of external contractors, we can contract them in, but this doesn't become a duty of the Swiss resident to be a manager necessarily for those staff. So that remains within the board. So the managing part will not be relevant. Are there any questions or comments? There doesn't seem to be any questions or comments. Therefore, I believe we can continue with the voting. Thank you. The voting has concluded. May we please see the results? Perfect. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to the next motion, please. So this is one that I forgot about. I'm so sorry. But if I could explain to you, there's 18, out of the 18, there are 3 out of the 18 articles. So we have 18 articles. We have to get an auditor that looks at all of our business to ensure that we are compliant. And this is someone that we can appoint. It can be a national member that we make use of, that we can select for this specific purpose. We could also make use of a financial advisor or expert in Switzerland to take a look at the activities and books that we have. So number 3 says, 18.3 specifically, speaks to, well, 18.1 speaks to the General Assembly, having the power to also make such a selection, so that we can have an open book and people can see where the money goes to. And the person that's selected needs to have the expertise to do that work. And then in third place, we also need a financial expert, such as an accountant, who can have a proper look at the books. This is not something that is forced on us from the Swiss laws. However, it is something that we would like to make sure gets done. Wasli doesn't have a lot of money that goes around, which means we don't have to necessarily follow the Swiss law. Having an accountant or an accounting company does take a lot of money, which means now we are very flexible because of the smaller income that we have as an organization. We have the flexibility to make use of a person that we choose. It can be someone who is an expert, but it needs to be someone who also understands finances, because we need to make sure that we continue with the work we do and make sure that we make use of experts. That means we don't have to make use of a professional auditing firm or auditor. So we can be flexible on that. Swiss law does not tell us to get rid of an official auditor. It is just something that we can make use of as an option. So we need to choose whether 18.3 is even necessary in this case, which is the professional auditor. So we already have a Swiss representative resident, part of the board. And it has been indicated that if another association can come through and have a look at our books, that is also a possible option for us to look at. So we have looked into that possibility. And we are aware that every country has a different way of conducting the oversight of this kind of financial business. And we would like to make sure that everyone in Wasli is happy with the process that we follow. So we have an opportunity to vote here. If there's no questions or comments, if we support that 18.3 is deleted, the professional auditor, then that is the case. Or if you choose that we should rather have the option of a professional auditor as part of what we would use to do the oversight. Please, let's proceed with voting on this motion. All votes have come in. So let's take a look at the results. Okay, so please remember that if we say yes, that the 18.3 is deleted, which means that a professional auditor is not needed, then we can make use of other organizations that have the professional expertise to assist. So that's national members that are leading us in this decision. Thank you very much. Okay. So we've been giving you a lot of motions to vote on that were related to board matters, mainly because we now have to follow what Swiss law has prescribed to us. The next part of what it is that we want to discuss are national member issues. Yes, I see that we have a representative from Ecuador who would like to ask a question. Are you presenting?
Yes. Once again, good morning, good afternoon.
Just 1 minute while we get the
Yes,
interpreter in place. Thank you.
All right. So I'm speaking on behalf of Latin America. My colleagues have asked me to deliver some words. Our region is presenting some proposals which we're about to decide and take a vote now. Before we do that, we would like to provide a brief introduction about what we are proposing. We are proposing the modification of the text 6 and 6.1 because we think they're very important for us, since the goal is to preserve the role of national associations versus other types of membership. We are proposing a better system to issue individual membership certificates, since we have noticed that there are people who are using these certificates issued by Wasli, they're using in the wrong way, and that affected one of our countries in Latin America. There's another proposal that we are bringing to you that concerns the unity of all sign language interpreters of the same country. The goal of this proposal is to strengthen the unity of the interpreters in each country. In countries where there is only one spoken language, having more than one national association is harmful to the community of sign language interpreters. This situation perhaps may not only affect our region at this time, but could become an issue in other regions in the future. Right now, we see that there are in some countries, we see that there are no associations of sign language interpreters, that they're becoming, they're engaging in work, but we would like to work with them together. And we think like having 2 or more sign language interpreter associations from one country becoming members of WASLI could be harmful for the relationship, for the work that we are meant to do as one group. Those are the reasons why we bring to you with our proposals. We hope to have your support.
Fantastic, thank you. So if we can bring the motion up onto the screen, please. I think you were mostly talking to the second motion there. The first motion, we can bring the first motion up. Okay, so the first motion is a change to the wording. So in Article 6, which is around membership, it currently says under Article 6.1 that any physical person or legal entity can become a member of WASLI. And the proposal is that we change the wording. So instead of any, it says a candidate. Physical person or legal entity may become a member. So I don't think this is a change to the meaning. So I'm just wondering if Ecuador wants to kind of talk through this motion in any more detail, just around the proposed change of words for this particular bit of the motion, before we then move to the next one.
Yes, what we meant is like the category of a national member is shown in the Article 6.2. This is after a process of screening.
Okay, sorry, if I can just cut in there 1 second. Yeah, absolutely. So we will be doing the next motion separately. So we've received the next motion as well. So we will be doing that, but this is just the 6.1, so the one that's on screen. So the LAC region's first proposal is for this one.
Yes,
So we'll vote on this first and then move to the vote for the second one. So you're proposing the words change to a candidate rather than a personal, physical, or legal identity. So if you could just talk around the changing for the word. So we have a hand up from somebody, our Zambian representative as well. Did you want to speak, Obed?
Yes, please. Maybe I missed the explanation, but this member that we are talking about in Article 6.1, is it a national member or any supporting member that can become a member if they've demonstrated dedication? Which member
Any
are we
member,
talking about?
yep, so it's any member. So this would be a national member or another membership category. So the next, so it says national member, regional member. So 6.2 has more clarification about the different categories of membership.
Okay,
so this 6.1 is just any member. So this is,
okay, thank you.
this is
clear.
Perfect. Thank you, Albert. So this proposal is just to change, to add the word candidate, a candidate, or physical entity or legal entity. So this is the particular motion that we're voting on now. Are there any comments or questions? I appreciate that 6.2 is also similar to this motion, and there'll be more discussion for that one. But for this particular motion, are there more comments or questions? And if not, I'm going to suggest that we move towards a vote. Oh, I see a question from our Italian representative. Hello and good afternoon.
Hi. May I please ask for clarity?
Absolutely.
For example, in Italy, right, we have associations. We have 4 associations.
Sorry. I'm just going to cut in there. I'm so sorry. The next motion really speaks to the number of associations. This is just a change of the wording. But yes, hold that question. You're going to want to ask it when we come on to the next motion for discussion. Thank you so much. You're very keen. You're most welcome to be keen.
Thank you. No comments right now.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. If there are no further comments, we can move to the vote for this one. Okay, so I think we've conducted the voting for this one. And if we could see the results of those votes, please. Okay. So that vote has passed. We will change the wording. So it now says candidate instead of any. And if we can move to the next motion, please. So this is motion number 6.2, or referring to article number 6.2 rather. And this motion requests a change of our current article, as you can see on the slide. So article 6.2 talks about national members, multinational members, provisional members. So these are new members who are just recently formed and require support. So the suggestion for this motion is similar to the explanation that we just had from our colleague from Ecuador, is that there is one national member association. From a board perspective, and of course this is up to you as a General Assembly to vote on, not a decision for the board to make. I know that myself, from the context of the UK, we have 2 national member associations. We have 2 in Malaysia, represented here by our Malaysian colleagues. We have 3 from America. We have 4 from Italy, 4 national associations. So if we were to change this, that would have an impact on not accepting further members where there was more than one national member already. So it might be that there could be regional members. It might be that we decide that as a General Assembly is not something we want to do, and I think there will be different national perspectives on it. So, of course, this is the opportunity for you as an Assembly to vote on it. I know that we have 2 people that wish to speak to this already. So firstly, our colleague from Ecuador, did you want to speak to this motion? And then secondly, we have our colleague from Italy who raised a hand earlier.
Yes, I would like to add something else. We agree, we understand what, excuse me, what Christopher said. And if you see in our proposed modification, the package that was sent for the assembly in Korea, it says on in our proposal, if you see that's number 2 right here on the slide that you have, it says one association representing a country. This excludes some countries that have more than one association of interpreters before the time of the enforcement of this reform. So that means that from now moving forward, that's the proposal. So moving forward, we're proposing this to have one association. We understand what you say. There are some countries like in UK, there's more than one association. In the United States, we have RID and we have mano a mano. They work with trilingual interpreters, which is a different language. So in countries where there's one, our proposal is that in countries where one oral language is spoken, we should have one national association. We can work it out with the other interpreters in unity, but having giving this possibility of anyone can join, like we mentioned earlier, can be harmful for the relationship, for the work of the sign language interpreters communities, and not just with them, also with the deaf community. And again, we want to clarify that this is, we know that there are already some more than one association in different countries, but if this motion is passed, moving forward, this is what will be, just one association per country. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. I can see that next we have a hand raised by the Italian member, and then after that we have Jenny Curring from the UK.
Thank you very much. That was very clear. And it spoke clearly to this point. I think it is a good point. especially related to the work that's done by the various associations and making sure that it doesn't conflict. However, for example, if you look at Italy, where we have 4 associations, that was started many years ago. To support, the work that we do, but also it's for the hearing and deaf people or interpreters that make use or they decide to join these organizations. Some of them are ready, but some of them are not necessarily. There are also some organizations that don't always have, that interaction and don't always participate in activities with Wasli. So I think maybe if we look at in the future, we can discuss this and maybe just have more clarity on why this is happening. Because I don't think that because it's not working in your country, it should now also be enforced on our other countries. Many other associations are started and they will also start. And why should we take away the choice from them? So that's kind of what I would like to express from Italy's side, that we cannot look at one country, one association only. But that's just my opinion.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now I'm going to ask the representative of ASLI UK, Jenny Curring, to speak. And she'll be speaking, so we'll need a sign language interpreter working into IS, Mazan. Thank you.
Hello. I think, while I understand where you're coming from a UK point of view, I think if you were to pass this motion, you would force people to make a choice. So let's say you have 4 associations like in Italy, or 2 like in the UK, and there could be 3 or 4. Who would make the decision who can and can't be a member of Wasli then? So if those associations don't talk to each other, for example, you would have a problem potentially. You would deny one of them the opportunity to be part of Wasli while the other can. So you're then kind of making a decision for that country, which I think is difficult from a political point of view and also for the politics within that country. You could cause more separation than bringing people together. So I think it's a very dangerous way of doing it. Of course, we want to encourage people. And of course, as Wasli, all that Wasli stands for is uniting interpreters around the world. So that's what we want to do. But whether forcing them to do that is the right way, I'm not entirely sure.
Thank you, Jenny. Appreciate that point. Next, we have our colleague from Zambia, Abed. Would you like to come in on this point?
Thank you so much. I think Jenny has partly touched on my question. What I want to understand is these countries that have more than one association, are those associations united? Are they working together? Do they have different mandates? Or they all have the same mandates and are at loggerheads? I'll give you, for example, in Zambia. In Zambia, we have 3 national associations that are at loggerheads. They are fighting, and I'm talking about bitter, serious fighting. There's hatred, there's backbiting, there's talking bad about each other, there's competition, there's killing each other, putting each other down. There's a lot of jealousy. So other countries like the UK and Italy with 4 associations, do those associations have different mandates? For example, they work in different languages, or they all work from, for example, English to sign language and at loggerheads and fighting, and then they are all accepted as Wasli National Association members? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that contribution. I mean, again, I could answer with the UK perspective, because we have more than one organisation in the UK. We have 3 professional interpreter associations in the UK. All of the interpreters use British Sign Language. That's a UK context. One thing that I would want to add to that is that, of course, the regions in Wasli are different. The political contexts that we work in are all different. So it might be that in the LAC region, it's only appropriate to have one member, but that's not appropriate in the other regions because of the different political contexts. Unfortunately, that leads us to two things. If there is support or not support for this motion, it has implications on the other regions. It could be that we need to follow the UN definition of various bodies that work together. I think the second point that's also part of this is that we have people who are already more than one association that are national members, and those would be allowed to continue. However, if another country both wanted to have two associations that were members, how would we decide between them is the uncertainty. So if this passes, which of course it's up to the people voting here today to decide whether it does or not, we will then need to do some further work to try and disambiguate how that process would work. Of course, we work in different political contexts. So it might be that next year at the General Assembly, if there is a new national member proposal, we would have to listen to the region about whether we accept that or not. And it might be that in the LAC region, they would say we already have one member, therefore there can't be another member. But there's lots of unknowns, and we would have to think very carefully about how we ensured that process was fair to all regions and all countries should this happen. The problem is by saying there can only be one national member, one vote, that would mean that maybe, for example, in Europe, with their two countries, it might be that we have 2 or 3 members and they can all vote, and then the power from some regions is greater than others if only one member from one country has a vote. So, for example, if America has several votes because there's several associations and other members are only allowed to have one association, then do they have less power than Wasli? How do we ensure those processes continue to be fair? How can we ensure those processes continue to work best for everybody? We have another hand raised from Italy. If we can take that contribution, and then Zambia, we have Obed again, and then after that, I think we probably need to think about moving towards a vote on this motion. Hello.
So as it was mentioned before, in Italy, there's quite a bit of uncertainty. One country only allowed one, but yet some have 2, 3, and in our case, 4 associations. I think it should stay as is, and let's see how it grows going forward. Maybe it's something to consider later on in the process, and we can discuss it again at a next General Assembly. If the associations become so many that we cannot manage it, or it becomes something bigger than what we thought it would be, then for sure we can discuss it again. And it's something that I think this is a point for the future. And in every 4 years, we can reconsider this, more than likely. And then we can have a more clear understanding of the challenges that are being experienced. Because right now, he has definitely indicated what the problems are. And even in Zambia, that's been an indication of the internal fights and politics that are taking place. I think it's something to consider in the future. However, for now, I believe Wasli should be an open organization, allowing all memberships. It's just my opinion. I hope that's clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Zambia first. So our colleague from Zambia wanted to make another comment, and then I'll allow you to reply, Sergio. Thank you. Obed, did you want to say something at this point?
Yes, please. Thank you so much once again. So the concern is, if we allow for example, 4 associations from one country to be national members of WASLI, and those 4 associations are fighting, and each association wants their representative to be part of, maybe to be the next representative for the region, and each country has to vote, for the next representative of the region. How will members vote for a representative of, say, Africa region, for example, So that's the first concern. The second point is, I understand that for now we cannot change, but maybe in future, I would propose that Wasli should work the same way United Nations works. The United Nations will decide which country can become its member or not, if that country meets the standards. So the United Nations sets the standards. So I would propose that in future, maybe during the next General Assembly, Wasli should set standards which national associations should meet, and should be able to pick one national association from that country. So somehow Wasli should be able to screen the national associations from those countries. If they represent different languages, that is okay. They have different mandates, that's fine. But if they all work in one language and they have the same mandate, they're just fighting, causing confusion, Wasli should be able to screen which association is representing the true values of Wasli, and recognize that, because someone already mentioned earlier that the certificates that were given by Wasli, for example, if I'm an individual sponsoring member, I have that certificate. Others abuse those certificates. You know, people don't understand issues of sign language. They go around with those certificates and claim to be professional interpreters recognized by the worldwide body, and they get jobs and so forth, and yet they don't even know how to sign. So the same way, this national association, if a national association is recognized, just one per country, it has a Wasli certificate.
Sorry, if we can just try to keep more closely the topic of this particular motion, just because time is quite tight. So this motion is very much about more than one national member. If we could just stick to that point. I'm so sorry.
Thank you so much. I think that was my point, that maybe in future we might consider accrediting just one association per country. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. And I'll ask if I can ask the man from Ecuador to respond. Is anything last that he would like to say? Anything final that he would like to say to wrap this up before we vote?
Yes, I don't have, I cannot open my video and still, okay. Now, yeah, it's a little bit difficult right here because this is ironic. We are a sign language interpreters organization, and right now we're having difficulty communicating what's going on in this assembly with my colleagues who don't speak English. We understand your point, and I think Christopher, he gave a valid point about we are different regions, we're different cultures, and the things that we live in Latin America perhaps are a little bit different compared to Europe, United States, or some other regions. What is happening right now is not happening in Ecuador, where I'm from. It's in one of the countries in the region right now. Since I'm the only person that in our group that speaks English, they ask me to speak for them. And it's hard, it's difficult. I know they texting me, they're trying to bring their point, and they understand what you're saying. So perhaps I don't know what you want to discuss next time, but one thing that they say it's the Wasli is made up like the structures like a pyramid. So the base are all the associations, the foundations are all the associations, and we want to work together with the interpreters in our countries. But sometimes there are some issues that they come. It might be cultural, it might be political, and we're trying to fix those. And that's why we're asking you for your support.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you summarising that point. I think it's a very fair point, and I do understand where you're coming from. Okay, so I think we're going to proceed with the vote. Some people are saying that maybe this is something we could do later. Some people are thinking this is something we should never do at all. Some people are thinking they want to support it. This is not a one-off option. Wasli works with the aims of the organisations and does the work that our national members want. So if people support this and there's work to be done, we'll need to work with the region to think about how we best implement this. So, for example, we have 2 UK associations already. They'll be able to continue. We've said that very clearly in the motion, but it's just other countries. If they want to have more than one national association, there'll need to be some sort of system for that. So some sort of UN definition or something. So there'll be work to be done around this and the implementation of this should this pass. So lots of work will need to happen over the years to think about how best we can move this forward. Anyway, enough from me. We are going to have to take a vote now. So if we can share the link for that vote. Okay, we are out of time. Could we see the results of that vote, please? So for this to pass, we needed 60% of people to vote in support of it. So we can see that hasn't happened and therefore the vote hasn't carried. However, I think we need to think about how this is incorporated into our future work. Unfortunately, we are out of time for today. We've run slightly over the amount of time that we had. We haven't received any formal AOB that needs to be discussed. However, there are 2 more motions which we don't have time to cover. One is around certificates. So as the board, we accepted this motion and we wanted to make the certificates clearer so that they don't say that somebody is an interpreter. So we will take this and incorporate this into our everyday policy work. The second motion was around something that's been discussed already and we think has been covered, which is thinking about how the board endorses national members. And I think now we've clarified the articles that it's you as national members that approve new members, not the board. So those 2 things are going to be incorporated into our work. If people aren't satisfied with that, they can be brought to the General Assembly next year, which is going to be in 2024. And then as a very, very last point, hang on, not that one. The very, very last slide The representative from Ecuador has raised a hand.
Just a clarification. I'm sorry if I missed it. So what is the next step, since on the last voting we didn't get the enough votes? So what will be the procedure now? Just to know. I know because of time. So in the one that didn't reach all the votes. So what will be the procedure? Just to clarification.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the question there. So it might be that Wasli can set up a working group to look at this issue. So we could set up a working group to think about how we are able for the 9 regions to come together and have a discussion around this. So we all have a better shared understanding of how this might work for the various regions. That might be a really positive way forward. So we could have 2 reps from each region who discuss this issue to think about it further, and the board could keep in contact with those regional reps who could, discuss the information with their area and think about setting up a working group if there are people that are particularly passionate about this issue. So it's not that this has dropped and can never be discussed again. It's just that this isn't a moment when the membership has wanted to vote on this. So don't think that this is necessarily over. I think it's an opportunity for us to just further flesh out the issue and to think about how we can better understand it. And Wasli obviously is represented by its national members, but maybe having a definition of what those national members are is useful. Hopefully that's a clear enough explanation. And yes, it's a starting point for further discussion is what I'm trying to say. Thank you. Our business has concluded. We have discussed the things we wanted to raise. We haven't got any other business. Sorry, I appreciate the time has been quite significant for this to happen because there are quite a lot of motions to get through. But hopefully you can clearly understand that we can have working groups around maybe the definitions of national members and how national members should be considered. And if people are happy to be in those groups, please do think about contacting your regional representatives to express an interest, because it would be important that we have people who have some passion around this issue to further think about the path that we might want to take in this regard. Secondly, we now have to inform members that the General Assembly will be in 6 months, with 6 months notice. So we will give you a date for your calendars for next year's annual General Assembly with lots of notice. We expect that we will be announcing that date in either January or February. So we will have a couple more meetings before then. And then with some months' notice, then you'll have the opportunity to share any motions that you have for that General Assembly. So we're currently in November. We expect that we will have probably a slightly later General Assembly next year, and then it will move slightly earlier in the year in subsequent years, and then ready for the face-to-face meeting that we'll probably have around the summertime in 2027. Thank you all so much for your work. I wonder if we could possibly, we've had so many people here, I wonder if people could switch their cameras on so we can just see the sheer number of people that we have with us today. Wow, fantastic. Yeah, I think it'd be really good to get a photo of this. Arunas, are you able to take a photo of this? Wonderful, thank you. I want to thank everybody for your time, for your attention, for the work you do for Wasli. I know it hasn't been a bundle of laughs this afternoon, but I appreciate your time, attention, and commitment to the organisation. And please do continue to think about how you can help with some of the work that we've got to do moving forward. Thank you all for your support, for your time, your professionalism, as we work together to grow the profession of sign language interpreters. Thank you so much. Yes, also thank you to the interpreters. Thank you to everybody who's been working in the background to make sure things happen. Thank you for Laura, to Patrick, who have been helping us very much with the technical side of things. It's much appreciated. Please do keep an eye on your emails, and there'll be within that the date for the next General Assembly for 2024. Okay, thank you all so much and goodbye. This formally closes the EGM.